Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my spoiler-free review for The Legend of Tarzan. I'll say one thing really good that this movie did. It made The Legend of Tarzan pretty legendary. You'll have to excuse me. I'm still getting over whatever I got last week. It's fun. That might happen periodic. That might happen I'm tired. Periodically. Oh my gosh. No energy.
Okay. You got this, babe.
Okay. That might happen periodically, because, you know, when I try to do something cool with my voice, like talking to a microphone and a camera to do something fun like a movie review, that's when my body's like, hey, you're still recovering a little bit. It's fantastically fun. But they really did take The Legend of Tarzan and make it quite legendary and, like, larger than life. It was kind of cool, because this movie is years after Tarzan and Jane meet. Years. Oh, here we go again. Years after Tarzan and Jane meet, and now they're living in England, they're married, they're trying to have kids, they're really trying to start their life together. It's kind of interesting. I got the feeling at the beginning of this movie, not that Tarzan is full of bad memories from his past, but it seemed like he was trying to forget it and move on. But that sense of wildness and that wild nature in him never quite left, which is why when this royal invitation comes for him to go back and visit the jungle in Africa and all that stuff, you know, he ends up taking it. He also ends up taking it because Samuel L. Jackson is there. His name should be pretty easy to remember. George Washington Williams. He was like the comedic relief of this movie. I mean, he was Sam Jackson the way Sam Jackson would be in the 1800s. He was a really cool character. Plus, he was a character who was a soldier in the Civil War in America. So he's been through all this stuff with slavery and he's fought hard. And so his character's got some depth and got some scarring to it. But he comes out of it like with this sense of humor and is like a really great character, and he's more of Tarzan's sidekick throughout the movie, but he's really great. He wants to hop on the tailcoats of Tarzan to, you know, take him up on that invitation too and be like the +1, get into Africa, because in this little Congo area, there's been a lot of slavery and stuff going on, and he wants to go there, figure out what's going on, find the proof, and put a stop to it. And that's why he talks Tarzan into doing this. So Tarzan goes, Jane's like, I'm going. Tarzan's like, no, you're not. Jane's like, yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I am. You know, that fight. But Jane ends up going because she's Jane, and happy wife, happy life. So yeah, Jane ended up going. And speaking of Jane, Margot Robbie was Jane. I think this might have been the first movie I've seen beginning to end that had Margot Robbie in it. And I'm kind of looking forward to seeing her in Suicide Squad, because in all the Suicide Squad trailers, her as Harley Quinn has consistently been my favorite part. So I was kind of excited to finally see her in this. So she was this really, really strong character, which, now that I think about it, you kind of need a really strong character in Jane, seeing as how he is this wild man, Tarzan, and they're supposed to be in love, and they're supposed to complement each other. So you need, like, this really strong personality to be able to, like, be in love with just this dude who's completely wild. Now, in the Disney Tarzan, yeah, you get that he's wild, but I mean, come on, it's a cartoon kind of wild, where he still smells good and wears a loincloth and doesn't need to take a shower or anything like that. In this movie, he did not wear a loincloth. He did need to take a shower, so yeah. Margot Robbie really just pulled it off in this movie. I thought she did a great job acting. I thought her character was a great character. She was tough, but she was also fun. And so you got these main characters now, and they all find their way to Africa. And then you have the bad guy, Leon Rom. You know, he's the dude who wants to enslave the entire Congo, and really, he's the type of bad guy that is just the jerk in every conceivable way. But he's not this over-the-top bad guy. He's one of those polite and mannerly bad guys. So you really want to hit that man in the teeth really, really bad. The actor that portrayed him did a really great job, and the chemistry between him and Margot Robbie in the movie was actually really interesting, because you could see that he was starting to like her because he really liked her spirit, and she was like despising every bit of him, but she was not letting him see that despisingness or any weakness or anything like that. It was a really cool dynamic during this hostage situation thing. Like, it was one of my favorite parts of the movie. I don't know why. It's not like I could point to one thing and say that was just so awesome. It was just the acting and the chemistry between those two, the way she didn't like him, the way he kind of ended up having this, like, reverent respect for her and things like that. Like, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of cool. And then they would do these flashbacks. And in these flashbacks, you'd get, like, the highlights you got from the Disney cartoon movie, minus all the music and singing and all that stuff, and slightly darker with gorillas tearing people apart. It's PG-13. as you get these flashbacks of Tarzan, how Tarzan met Jane, how Tarzan and Jane struck up their relationship, and Tarzan's relationship with the gorilla pack, Tarzan's relationship with the other animals, it took his legend and it made it larger than life. And I think it's because, we're not living through that story. We're living through a different story. So they've taken that story and made it this huge, tall tale, and it's actually so cool. I like how big his history and his background and all of that stuff felt. I thought it was really cool. And I like just the plot and story of this. Him having to go back to the jungle. Him having to face his past and face his old gorilla pack when they think he deserted them and all that stuff. That he has to face all of this stuff. To watch him fight. Tarzan can fight. I mean, if you're raised by gorillas, I assume you can fight. But he can fight. Though, when Tarzan fought some of the gorillas, I don't know. Some of it was a little fake. Because I figure gorillas are super strong and they can tear people apart. But he was raised by gorillas. And of course, none of this would work if you don't have the right Tarzan. And they got the right Tarzan for this. I liked him. Like, he was calm, he was cool, he was not over the top, he wasn't looking disinterested in the role either. He was just, I don't know, he was that, like, collected, calm, cool middle ground. And I just thought it was a really cool character. Plus, they did some really cool things with his hands. And the actor did a good job, like, keeping his hands like this or something. Because, he learned to walk on all fours, and he's, like, talking about it. And so, I don't know. I just thought it was cool where, that was just kind of part of his mannerisms. And they kind of kept that in there pretty cool. Because that's, the bone structure changed. Because he walked on all fours. So, I just thought that was kind of nifty. There's a lot of cool things they did with it. And the guy who played Tarzan did a really great job. So, in the end, I had a lot of fun with this movie. I like the way they told this particular story, that it's really kind of like a Tarzan sequel, but the way they flashbacked, you got the full origin story, you got the full idea. The cast, I thought, was really great. They picked a great cast. They had just great chemistry all with each other. So having said all these praises, I'm going to end up giving this movie 3 stars. And I had a hard time gauging how many stars I was going to end up giving this movie, because honestly, like, watching this movie, the entertainment value to me was a 4-star experience. I really, truly enjoyed this movie for what it was. I had a whole lot of fun with it, but ultimately when it comes down to it, like when it hits Blu-ray, I don't really need to buy it. I mean, it's a fun movie, but it's just not one of those movies that I feel like I would want to go back and revisit a whole bunch of times and things like that. If you saw Tarzan, how many stars out of 5 would you give it? Be sure to let me know in the comments, and while you're there, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because, I try to get at least 3 videos out a week, reviewing movies, all kinds of fun stuff, and so that's a good way to stay on top of it. So hit that subscribe button. I'm Durbin. Thank you so much for checking out Durbania.